This is some sad stuff. So we talked about Thatcher Demko. He's one of my favorite goalies above and beyond. If I had to pick, Hellebuck's up there, Demko's up there, probably Bob as well. But Demko is really one of my favorites right now. I heard from a very reliable source that knee injury that he's got, it's pretty much the same thing that Carey Price had. And if anybody knows about Carey Price, the second he hurt that knee injury happened with Chris Kreider, he came back, never was the same, played great, out for a year, played great, out for a while. It's just never the same. And it's such a shame because that guy's career was cut short probably by a good, 3, 4, 5 seasons just because of that?
Okay, this is a Tua Tagovailoa situation where you now have actual statistical data on what that looks like moving forward for the rest of your A, career, and B, your life, where Carey Price is still suffering the damage from that, where he's not unable to get up and down the stairs without pain. So I think Thatcher, if that's the case, I think Thatcher Demko has some really big decisions to make.
Well, if I could point out this too, we're talking about Carey Price, who's 6'3" on a good day, probably about 6'2", but 6'3". Demko, we're talking 6'6", way bigger, way more strain and torque through the center of all the bones and the limbs and whatnot. Demko also had double hip surgery in college. There's no more ligaments, there's no more impingements to fix with him. Carey Price didn't. So you're at basically the end of the lifespan of what you can do naturally to help the body to accommodate playing in the NHL for 50, 60 games a year, the physical demands on that. I hope that this isn't the end for him. I know he came back the other day. I thought he played pretty well against St. Louis, made some big saves. Stats didn't necessarily reflect that. But just to put into perspective, as a starter, pre-scamdemic, he's only had one season under a .915 save percentage. Every season, 40 games, 60 games, no matter what he starts, .915 and above. He was, I think, a Vezina candidate last year, him, Hellebuck, and Shesterkin. I bet you, I told you last episode, if he's starting in the playoffs last year for the Canucks, we're talking Florida and Vancouver in the Cup final.
You're not wrong. They had a much better shot, that's for sure. I think all the way back to a guy by the name of, you may have heard of him. His name's Bobby Orr, and I think he was the first well-known case of somebody who was just an absolute phenom that had bad knees. And Bobby Orr got out of the game probably a year or two too late, but has had knee problems ever since.
Well, they changed the game, though, because when he was driving to the net and rushing the puck out, they would just drive him to the net at the time when the nets were in the ice. They weren't moving them. Mm-hmm. The amount of issues with all that contact, man, that's a shame.
Yep.
And I hope Demko plays for a couple more years, a lot more years, because he's so great, so fun to watch.
Yep.
I know we love the Jets, but that Jets-Canucks game in January is piquing my attention. That one looks pretty good.
I think we're going to that game.
I think we might have to. Do a little video of the whole experience, get some food, get some hot dogs and whatnot. Well, maybe not the hot dogs, but try to find some.
Are you kidding me? We got to go with the jumbo jet dog.
That's true.
That's a must. That thing is gourmet.
Chili.
Pierogies.
Bacon bits.
Sour cream.
Caramelized onions.
Chives.
Green onion. Nacho cheese sauce.
Things this big.
In a brioche bun.
We might even have to split that.
Would you split it with me?
Oh, it's fantastic, yeah.
The Lady and the Tramp and just kind of...
meet in the middle, sure. Yeah, lots of napkins.
I got Pride Night coming up soon.
Okay, moving on.
By the way, you mentioned last week, I think it was, but streakers on the ice.
Yeah.
Not a lot of guys want to go because where are you going to get your contact from? Mm-hmm. Last time there was true streakers on the ice in an NHL game?
When?
1974, Vancouver Canucks, New York Islanders, 3. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful gals came on the ice, tops off. Hey, fellas, and they got escorted off the ice. On the video version of the show, I'll throw a little picture up on there. Iconic.
Hey, every Sunday, a new podcast goes up, but if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, there's clips everywhere and just segmented stuff on your favorite players. Go subscribe to Slang and the Biscuit. You can click these boxes because who doesn't like clicking boxes?